Once upon a time, a farmer had a goose that laid a golden egg every day. The farmer used to sell that egg and earn enough money to meet their family's day-to-day needs. One day, the farmer thought that if he could get more such golden eggs and make a lot of money and become a wealthy person, the farmer decided to cut the goose and remove all the golden eggs from its stomach. As soon as they killed the bird and opened the goose's stomach, they found no eggs. The foolish farmer realized they had destroyed their last resource out of greed. Moral: greed destroys your resources. A lion was once sleeping in the jungle when a mouse started running up and down his body just for fun. This disturbed the lion's sleep, and he woke up quite angry. He was about to eat the mouse when the mouse desperately requested the lion to set him free. "I promise you, I will be of great help to you someday if you save me." The lion laughed at the mouse's confidence and let him go. One day, a few hunters came into the forest and took the lion with them. They tied him up against a tree. The lion was struggling to get out and started to whimper. Soon, the mouse walked past and noticed the lion in trouble. Quickly, he ran and gnawed on the ropes to set the lion free. Moral of the story: a small act of kindness can go a long way. One day, a selfish fox invited a stork for dinner. Stork was very happy with the invitation. She reached the fox's home on time and knocked at the door with her long beak. The fox took her to the dinner table and served some soup in shallow bowls for both of them. As the bowl was too shallow for the stork, she couldn't have soup at all, but the fox licked up his soup quickly. The stork was angry and upset, but she didn't show her anger and behaved politely. To teach a lesson to the fox, she then invited him for dinner the next day. She too served soup, but this time the soup was served in two tall, narrow vases. The stork devoured the soup from her vase, but the fox couldn't drink any of it because of his narrow neck. Moral of the story: a selfish act backfires sooner or later. Once there lived a greedy man in a small town. He was very rich, and he loved gold and all things fancy, but he loved his daughter more than anything. One day, he chanced upon a fairy. The fairy's hair was caught in a few tree branches. He helped her out, but as his greediness took over, he realized that he had an opportunity to become richer by asking for a wish. In return, the fairy granted him a wish. The greedy man rushed home to tell his wife and daughter about his wish, all the while touching stones and pebbles and watching them convert into gold. Once he got home, his daughter rushed to greet him. As soon as he bent down to scoop her up in his arms, she turned into a gold statue. He was devastated and started crying and trying to bring his daughter back to life. He realized his folly and spent the rest of his days searching for the fairy to take away his wish. Moral of the story: greed will always lead to downfall. The ant and the grasshopper were good friends. In the summer, the ant works hard to fill his storage with food, while the grasshopper was enjoying the fine weather and playing all day. When winter came, the ant was lying cozily in his home, surrounded by the food he stored during the summer, while the grasshopper was in his home, hungry and freezing. He asked the ant for food, and the ant gave him some, but it wasn't enough to last the entire winter. When he tried to ask the ant again, the latter replied, "I'm sorry, my friend, but my food is just enough for my family to last until the end of winter." Moral of the story: winter in this story represents a time in our lives when food and resources are scarce. Summer is that time when everything is abundant. So, if you have a lot right now, save some of it for the winter. The story revolves around a duckling who, from the moment of his birth, has always felt different from his siblings. He was always picked on because he didn't look like the rest of them. One day he had enough and ran away from the pond he grew up in. He wandered nearby, looking for a family who would accept him. Months passed and seasons changed, but everywhere he went, nobody wanted him because he was such an ugly duck. Then, one day, he came upon a family of swans. Upon looking at them, he realized that during the months he spent looking for a family to call his own, he had grown into a beautiful swan. Moral of the story: we shouldn't be too quick to judge others based on their physical appearance. Just because someone doesn't fit societal definitions of beauty doesn't mean they're ugly. Each of us is beautiful in our unique way, and it's time we accept and celebrate that individuality. There is a haunted home in the city of Pennsylvania. Many years ago, invitations were sent out to people asking them to attend a party here, and Jack and Mary were amongst the invitees. The home consisted of a maze of identical passages and staircases, all leading to the 13th floor. Most people never made it to the 13th floor, scared by people dressed up as ghosts and ghouls. But Jack and Mary made it to the 13th floor despite all this. But we do not know what they found out on this floor, as they were never seen after that fateful party. This story is about a family that moved into a huge house with a large number of rooms. A few days later, the two little boys of the couple began complaining about a clown coming into their room at night, but the father did not take it seriously. The girl later came to know that the family never had a clown statue in their home. Way back in 1961, a ship from Holland called the Flying Dutchman was on its voyage and was near the Cape of Good Hope when the captain saw that they were in the path of a massive storm. With the help of the crew, the ship managed to steer clear of the storm, but not for long, and it began to sink. The captain screamed at the storm that he would keep going around the cape in circles until time immortal, if that's what it took. If you are caught in a storm near the Cape of Good Hope, you can still see the Flying Dutchman and his crew sailing into the storm. A young girl was traveling by train one late night. There were two old men sitting across her, and an old woman sitting between them kept staring at her in a weird way. The train stopped at a station, and a man wearing a trench coat stepped in and sat next to her. The young girl still felt the old woman staring at her continuously, while the two old men were least bothered. When the train halted at the next stop, the man in the trench coat grabbed the girl and pushed her onto the station. When the girl began to scream, the man said, "I am sorry, but I just saved your life," as the old woman was dead and the old men were propping her up.